Imagine a world where the map we've known for centuries suddenly changes, where the lines dividing nations are redrawn, not through peaceful negotiation, but through the desperate scramble for power. Imagine the last untouched continent, one that has never truly been claimed, suddenly thrown into the center of a global power struggle. A place with enough resources to fuel nations, enough strategic value to decide the balance of power, and enough mystery to rewrite our understanding of history itself. That place is Antarctica, and right now it is the most fragile piece on the global chessboard. If the treaty that protects it is torn apart, if a superpower decides to break the rules, it could be the spark that sets the entire world order on fire. Antarctica is not like any other continent. It is vast, it is inhospitable, and it is unlike anywhere else on Earth. For centuries, it was simply a blank space on the map. Sailors spoke of a great southern land, but it was only in the last 2 centuries that explorers finally set foot there. What they found was a land of endless ice, brutal winds, and deadly cold. No cities, no nations, no borders. Just an entire continent frozen in time. And yet, beneath the ice lies unimaginable potential. Minerals, oil, gas, and the largest reservoir of fresh water on the planet. In a world where resources are running thin, that makes Antarctica not just a curiosity, but a prize. That is why, in 1959, the Antarctic Treaty was signed. At the height of the Cold War, with nuclear weapons pointing in every direction and mistrust at its peak, 12 nations came together, including the United States and the Soviet Union, and agreed on something unprecedented. Antarctica would not belong to anyone. It would not be carved up like Africa had been in the 19th century, or like the Middle East had been after World War I. It would be preserved for peace and science. No military bases, no nuclear weapons, no claims, no wars. It was a radical idea, born out of fear that Antarctica could become the next flashpoint in an already dangerous world. For more than 60 years, that treaty has held. Over 50 nations now recognize it. Antarctica has remained free from the kind of exploitation and conflict that has scarred almost every other part of the globe. Scientists from rival nations work side by side at research stations. Penguins and seals go about their lives untouched by human development. The ice remains, for now, pure. But treaties are only as strong as the will to enforce them. And as the world grows hungrier for resources, as global politics grow more fractured, the Antarctic Treaty may not survive forever. So why hasn't Antarctica been claimed outright? Why is this one continent still free from flags and armies? The answer is partly the treaty, and partly the brutal reality of the environment. Temperatures can plunge below -80 degrees Celsius. Winds can tear apart equipment. For much of the year, the continent is shrouded in darkness. To live there permanently is almost impossible without massive technological support. The cost of building cities or extracting resources is astronomical. And yet, in the 21st century, what was once impossible is slowly becoming possible. Climate change is reducing ice cover in some regions. Technology is advancing, and the pressure to secure new resources is growing. The question is no longer if Antarctica can be exploited, it's when. But Antarctica isn't just about ice and resources. There is also mystery. There are the strange anomalies that have sparked theories for decades. The Peary Race map, drawn in 1513, appears to show the coastline of Antarctica centuries before it was discovered. Some claim it even shows the land without ice, raising the possibility that ancient civilizations once mapped it when it was still habitable. Satellite images have revealed pyramid-like shapes that some believe could be ruins buried under the ice. Mainstream science dismisses these as natural formations, but the theories persist. We know that millions of years ago, Antarctica was not frozen wasteland at all. It was part of a lush supercontinent called Gondwana. Fossils of forests, even dinosaurs, have been found there. Could humans, or something else, have walked Antarctica before the ice? The evidence is thin, but the questions keep people intrigued. And there's another layer to this. Antarctica isn't just a frozen desert. It is also a potential trigger point for global change. If its ice sheets collapse, sea levels around the world could rise by meters, flooding coastal cities, displacing millions, and redrawing maps in the most literal sense. The fate of Antarctica is tied to the fate of the world, and in that way, it is already the most dangerous place on the planet. But let's return to the treaty, because treaties, like ice, eventually crack. The Antarctic Treaty is not permanent. In 2048, parts of it come up for review. Nations can choose to renegotiate. Some may decide that the promise of untouched resources is too tempting to ignore. Already, there are signs that the old order may not hold. China has been increasing its presence in Antarctica, building new research stations that some analysts suspect have dual purposes. Russia continues to maintain a strong presence and is accused of conducting surveys that could be the groundwork for future resource claims. The United States, while publicly committed to the treaty, knows it cannot allow rivals to dominate the last untouched continent. This is where geopolitics collides with ice. The global balance of power is shifting. The United States, Russia, and China are no longer just competing in traditional arenas like trade, the military, or space. They are probing the boundaries everywhere: the South China Sea, Ukraine, Africa, the Arctic, and each time one of them pushes, the old order strains. If they were willing to rip up agreements elsewhere, why would Antarctica be any different? Imagine the moment when one of these superpowers decides the treaty no longer serves their interests. Imagine China declaring that its stations are no longer just for research, but for resource extraction. Imagine Russia sending icebreakers and drilling rigs. Imagine the United States responding to protect international order. Antarctica could become the tipping point, the spark that transforms a cold competition into open confrontation. And the danger goes beyond the continent itself. Because if Antarctica, the one place where the world has agreed to put aside its differences, falls to the logic of power politics, what does that mean for everywhere else? If the treaty can be torn up, why not others? Why not the laws of the sea or the agreements over space? If Antarctica is claimed, it won't just redraw the map of the South. It could redraw the map of the entire world. It's chilling to think about. Antarctica, that silent, frozen continent at the bottom of the Earth, could be the place where the 21st century balance of power is decided. It could be the place where the United States, Russia, and China finally stop circling each other and collide. It could be the place where the lines on our maps, the ones we thought were permanent, are suddenly rewritten. The mystery of Antarctica has always captured our imagination. The untouched wilderness, the strange anomalies, the idea of ancient secrets buried under the ice. But the real story may be even more dramatic. Not a story of the past, but of the future. A story where Antarctica becomes the key to global dominance, where the race for resources collides with the fragility of peace, and where the order of the world as we know it is put to the ultimate test. So the next time you look at a globe and see that vast white space at the bottom, don't think of it as empty. Think of it as the most contested land that hasn't been contested, yet. Because in the years ahead, Antarctica may not remain untouched. It may become the battlefield that changes everything. And if that happens, the silence of the ice may be broken forever. The world is watching. The ice is waiting. The race for Antarctica has only just begun.